Hey, what's going on, my beautiful people? This is Certified Life and Relationship Coach, Coach Court. In today's video, I'm going to be answering the questions from one of my friends, actually. Why aren't I good enough? Thank you for sticking around. If this is your first time viewing me, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel by clicking that subscribe button and ringing that bell so you're notified for all the newest coaching content. Before I get into the content, if you want my help personally, the quickest way to get in contact with me is to go to my website, www.fruitfulseeds.com, click the coaching tab, and book a one-on-one coaching session with me. Thank you. In today's video, I have a question from one of my friends, someone I'm pretty close with. Why aren't I good enough? I feel like this was such an important question to ask. Why aren't I good enough? Because it encompasses a lot of the different people that I coach, whether you're here for a rebound relationship or whether you're someone that was dealing with someone that was a love avoidant and you were trying to show up the best way you can and they still eventually leave you. Now, it doesn't really matter what the case was, whether your person went on and got it with someone else or whether you struggle with anxiety and you struggle with keeping healthy relationships. You ask yourself the question, why aren't I good enough? And she reached out to me and she said, out of everyone that I know, you're the one that I feel can help me out the best about this situation. So she went on to tell me about what she was going through, and she's someone that actually identifies as a fearful avoidant. And she had met a guy, and the guy was someone that traveled for work, and she actually liked him. She met up with him, had some wine, and they actually talked for like 4 hours. And when he wanted to go out on another date with her or set up another date, she accepted. But after it was over, she started to get fearful. She started to get anxious. She started to get really, uncentered about the whole deal. She didn't know what to do. So she reached out to me and asked, why am I like this? What is going on? I like the guy. We have a lot of things in common. We have, as far as like goals and things we want down the line, like we align in that area. But I can't stop thinking that, hey, maybe this guy's a player. Maybe he's seeing other women, and I'm just really nervous about this whole thing. Before I get into that, if you guys aren't following me on Instagram, go ahead and follow me there. I am Coach Court. I wrote a quote about this actually. And the quote goes, looking for love in all the wrong places pretty much means anywhere outside of you. That doesn't mean avoid relationships. It means realize that you already have everything you need if that relationship falls apart. So if you're not following me there, go ahead and check me out. But I also told her, because you're a fearful avoidant, there are certain things that you didn't see or certain healthy patterns that you didn't observe as a kid. And I took notes here because I wanted to make sure that I got this all down. I said, the first question she asked was, what's wrong with me? And I said, well, trauma's wrong with you. I was rummaging through some of my old paperwork down in the basement. I found something from 2013 when I first started my attachment studying, and it was really interesting because a lot of that stuff still holds true. And I lost a lot of different paperwork. I lost clothes during my divorce because I was moving from house to house. But the one thing that I kept was my training. And I can remember from the training, there's this thing called trauma-informed care. I ended up getting my certification in that. And they have a website that you can go and you can do like a brief overview on the amount of traumas that you experienced as a kid. Now, their website is called ACES Too High, ACESTOO High, HIGH, ACES2high.com. You take that test and you can kind of see how many traumas you had growing up, and you can also see how resilient you are to the traumas that you experience. Everyone's trauma threshold is different. Like you can see someone, something tragic happen to someone and be scarred for life, or you could be someone that has a high resistance to that trauma and just see it as just a Tuesday. But when it comes to your relationships, you have to understand that those traumas, they typically don't disappear. They're going to show up in some way, shape, or form in your life. Growing up, we talked a lot about, being resilient and just surviving the ghetto, but you don't really survive. It's almost a form of PTSD, or post. So whenever you have these situations arise, like this situation here. She's in a relation, or she's trying to have a guy pursue her, or and vice versa. But the traumas that she experienced from the past, she's going to continuously relive those, because 95% of the things that the way that you operate, you have no control over. It's your subconscious, it's ingrained. So I thought that was interesting that she reached out to me, and it's a very important question to ask yourself. What's wrong with me? And I said, that's a great thing that you're doing that right now, because you're taking that subconscious wound and you're bringing it to the conscious front. You're starting to realize what's going on with you and asking questions about, how can I change this? What can I do to make this go away? I said, that leads me to the next question that she asked: why aren't I good enough? And I said, you probably don't feel like you're good enough because you never felt good enough as a kid. Now, this isn't something that's 100% certain, because there definitely are cases where people had lots of love and lots of abundance in their childhood, as far as like emotional support and, support and everything that they wanted to do in life. But for the majority of the cases I've seen, it's usually because they didn't have that type of person to support them. They didn't have that healthy attachment to someone as a kid. So that's why you probably don't feel good enough, is what I told her. And she agreed. She said, yeah, that's pretty much the case. But, how do I change that? I said, well, you have to work on rewriting that narrative that you tell yourself. There's a book that I recommend to a lot of my clients. It's called Homecoming. It's by John Bradshaw. And I actually had this book referred to me when I was going through my own issues and struggling with my attachment. And it's crazy, because when I was going through 2013, I was studying attachment style, but I was still struggling with my own attachment wounds. Struggling with my own attachment wounds. So it never goes away. Like, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. I know people say that's saying over and over again. And I had someone joke with me one day, and they said, what if someone comes along and picks the apple up and throw it down the street? I said, well, it's going to be that's going to be a pretty steep hill, because once they throw it up that street, it's going to just tumble right back down. I can think about some of the sayings that my mom used to say to me, and I used to think like, oh, that's such an annoying saying, like that irks me. And I'll never say that to my kids. And then I'll be doing something where, it just automatically just comes out, like something that my mom said to me when she used to discipline me, some type of saying that was annoying or something. And I'll think to myself, like, I told myself I would never say that to my kids. And that's such an annoying thing to hear repeatedly. So it really doesn't fall too far from the tree. Your upbringing is everything. So if you found this video valuable, go ahead and click this link right here, where I talk about why the rebound actually doesn't matter. You can also follow me on my other social media accounts: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, as I am Coach Court. And I want you guys to remember, when you go be love, you'll never have to find it. Namaste.